It's the Gear Tester here, and welcome to my review on the Marttiini fixed blade knife. I view this excellent little knife as a great bargain. I've had it for over 8 years, and it was given to me as a birthday present by a really good friend of mine, and I had a great time spending some time this last Thanksgiving with him and his wife. It was awesome to reconnect, and he purchased a knife for me 8 years ago, and I've used it. I've carried it on backpack trips, on hunting excursions, and I've really enjoyed this little Marttiini knife. One of the things I like about it is it's very cost effective. You can purchase a knife similar to this one for around $15, maybe throw in $5 shipping. For 20 bucks, you have a nice quality knife that comes very sharp from the factory, surprisingly sharp. One of the things that I like about this knife is it has a spine, and it's made out of carbon steel. So the spine of the knife has a nice 90-degree ridge on it. Any knife is going to have a spine, but this one has a nice 90-degree angle on it, and that means it's really great for striking your fire steel. And the strikers that come along with a number of these fire steels don't do nearly as good a job as a carbon steel blade, a carbon steel piece of metal, and that's what we've got here on this little Marttiini knife. So right now I'm going to try getting a fire going, or at least lighting something here. Then we'll see if I can get it going. I'm going to be using here some little makeup cotton pads. And these are like makeup removal pads, and I've just pre-prepared them with a little bit of Vaseline on them. This is a great way to get a fire going. I view this little knife as a great little backup knife. It could also be your main knife if you don't plan to do a lot of chopping, hacking, cutting while you're out and about. I take a lot, when I go backpacking, I couldn't believe this last summer I went backpacking, hiked 20 miles, and had a great time, and I couldn't believe how many cutting tools I had with me. It really surprised me when I sat down and counted, and I realized, you know, I really don't need as many as I'm taking along here. Really, this knife would have been just fine, and I actually carried it along on that trip, used it a little bit. So we'll see here if I can get this stuff to the light. There we go. There we go. Took a little more work than I expected there. It'll do just fine. Must have had those cotton pads get a little bit wet from the snow that's falling right now. But I view this knife as a great knife, whether it's a backup knife or whether it's going to be your primary blade. I think it's going to do a great job for you, no matter how you plan on actually using it. I think it will do a good job as a knife. I want to talk a little bit about the sheath here. You know, it's a $20 knife, right? And so it comes with a $20 sheath, or a sheath that is appropriate in the cost price range there that you'd expect to get. This is just a little plastic sheath that it comes with. Has a little area for a belt loop. I've never actually used it that way. Very rarely. I don't think I've ever used it that way, and that's because I just stick this in my pocket, or I put it in my bag or pack as I'm carrying it, because it's just my little backup knife, is the way I've used it. But I'm getting to value having a lighter weight setup, and bringing a hatchet and a large machete or kukri knife and a Leatherman and those things. This little Marttiini knife is a great little blade, and would really fulfill most of the things I need it for. You can baton with this blade. I've done that before. In a little bit, I'll show you some pictures that I found online of this knife and show you how far the blade goes into the handle. It's not full Tang, and that's a reality that you're going to need to be aware of. But it's still a good knife, and it will do batoning, those kinds of things, in proportion to its size. Don't expect too much of your gear. I see a lot of people who want to be able to baton through a telephone pole, and that's just ridiculous, especially with a knife like this. You know, you're going to use it proportionally to the amount you're going to do, but it's a great skinning knife. I have skinned game with this before, and I think it's a great little knife to have. We're back inside. My hands are slowly warming up. My fire went out. I should have taken more care on the way in which I prepared it. But this little knife did well today as I did some bushcrafting and enjoyed the outdoors and carried this knife along with me. I just wanted to go over inside here some of the specifications of this little knife. It has a 3-inch blade and it's 7.75 inches overall, so almost 8 inches overall. You can see there. Now, one of the realities of having a high carbon steel blade is that you're going to need to care for it. So when you get back or when you get done using it, you're going to need to oil this with something to maintain the blade so that it doesn't rust. And that's one of the reasons that I carry these little makeup pads with the Vaseline on them. In a pinch, I can also use that Vaseline to maintain the blade on my knife to keep it from rusting. You can see there I let it rust a little bit many years ago, a couple years ago, when I skinned a game animal, skinned it and failed to take care of the knife blade, waited a day, and it kind of got some rusting in there. It's not pitted, but it has kind of put a patina or a coloration onto the blade there. These knives come very sharp, as I previously mentioned. They're great little knives, and I think that this knife represents a great value and is a good tool to have. It's very compact and it's very lightweight. I thought you guys might like a little picture of this knife. This is not my photo. I found this online of an individual that had one of these little J Marttiini knives and that chose to grind the handle down and show you just how the blade is held inside the handle. And you can see right here, you can see the handle's been ground down, and you can see it's definitely not full tang there. And you know, that may bother some people. For me, it doesn't bother me because I've used the knife and it's held up very well. But just so you know, that's the reality with this particular knife of how it's going to be constructed. And many knives are constructed this way. The Mora knives are constructed the same way. So I don't feel that that's necessarily a bad thing in the way this knife is produced. I'll always prefer a full tang knife that has some kind of scales on a thick piece of metal, but this is still a good knife for $15. Now comes the good news and the bad news of this review. This particular knife is no longer in production, this red-handled Marttiini knife. They, as far as I can tell, are no longer producing it, but they are producing a knife that's very similar to this one. It's a little bit longer, a little bit larger, but it is a better knife. The one that you've been looking at, this one-handled one that you see pictured in front of you right now, is the M571. So that's the J Marttiini M571, and that's no longer being produced. However, there is another knife that is being produced, and you guys can see it right here. And this knife is called a number of different names online from the companies that are trying to sell them. But its call numbers, or its item number, is MN578013. MN578013. And it's selling for about $15 on a number of different websites. It comes, one of the things that I like that they're doing better here is I like that they've included a finger guard that is further out there. You can see on this particular knife, it's not very extended, and it would be easy to slip up on the blade if you weren't being careful. That never happened to me, but I was always very careful. However, this has that extended finger guard there, and it also has what looks like some plastic kind of striations here, which are going to give you that better grip. So this same knife is going to sell for around the $15 that I paid for the red-handled one. You can see here is another photo very similar to this one, and I like it. It's 8.5 inches overall. You can see there, so it's about almost an inch longer, maybe 3/4 of an inch longer than this red-handled one. But it has a 3 3/4 inch blade. All right, so you're getting basically just a longer blade, same basic handle length. So I would definitely recommend this little red J Marttiini knife if you can find it. I would recommend that knife to you. and this other Marttiini knife. I'll put the call numbers, the MN578013, down below in the description so you can find this particular knife and purchase it. If you like this video, I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel for more quality video reviews of shooting, camping, and survival gear. This is the Gear Tester signing off.